Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic, endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and thy good purposes, common human life, be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honourable members, we turn to item 2. Item 2 in today's order paper. Item 2, roll call. Let me urge the table to start.
Abakasta Mol Erickson, Abanga Abdullahi, Abdullahi Jacob Idris, Abdul Latif Dan, Abdul Salam Adams, Ablakwa Samuel Okujeto, Abuaji George Kwame, Abuaji Kwejonyampong, Abudulai Bazurewa, Achampom Brian, Achampom Charles, Achampom Rick, Akwaku Sofa Karen Edem, Akwa Alexander Akwesi, Adaza, Adam Mohammed Amin, Adams Kofidi, Adi Fori, Adoya Frimpong, Ejay Kwesi Boateng, Adom Frederick Obeng, Mensa Alex, Adumako Mensa Collins, Adongo Isaac, Edu Johnson Kweku, Edu Chumia Osei, Afenyo Markin Alex Wamina, Afol Eric, Efri Mensa Kwesi Usu, Efri Ye Nana Yu, Efri Ye Kweku, Agalga James, Agbeve Charles, Agboja Kwame Govens, Ejepon Ken Nohene, Ejari Alexander, Ejekum Emmanuel Kwejo, Ajimamenu Kweku, Ajima Rollins Aneto, Ejeni Mboatin Kweku, Ahinkra Kingsley Carlos, Ahinkwa Frederick Ya, Ahi Samson, Ahiafo Bernard, Eidu William Oreku, Akando Kwabna Minta, Akambra Validia Lamisi, Achia Samuel Lata, Alazuga Albert Akuka, Al Hassan Abdullah Idi, Al Hassan Bashir A. Fusaini, Al Hassan Lydia Seram, Al Hassan Saibu Suhini, Aliu Mahama Umar Farouk, Alaute Angelo Foriwa, Amankwa Nicholas, Amankwa Menu Kofi, Ameu John Peter, Amial Tremi Kwesi, Amwa Oseibonsu, Amwa Stephen, Amwaku Andiama, Amwaku Atakwesi, Ampim Thomas Nyako, Ampofu Chumesi Kwame, Amprechum Saponkwe, Andre Emmanuel Eje, Enim Ernest Yao, Enim Anodompre Frank, Entry Eugene Boache, Animedu Entry Kwame, Apa Clement Abbas, Apie J. Patricia, Apie Akubi Andy Kwame, Ama Prince Hamidu, Asamoah Vincent Opon, Asante Kwejo, Asante Boatin Kweku, Asensu Boachi Francis, Esiamak Isaac Kwame, Esiama Kwabna Mankwa, Esiama Eje Nalama Dokua, Asafa Vincent Eko, Atamil Samuel, Aveji James Kluche, Avoka Cletus Sapo, Ewa Ignatius Bafo, Awuna Theresa Ladi, Ayamba Ladi Ayi, Ayariga Mahama, Ayiku Benjamin Nate, Aine Dominic Akritinga, Befi Michael Lottery, Baba Bengo, Baligi Bright Bachi Yoville, Bandim Azuma Bednego, Bano Patrick, Batel Sheila, Bawa Edward Abambri, Bedra Emmanuel Kwesi. Bettino Joseph. Blanson Alex. Boachi Henry Yadom. Boachi Yadom Patrick. Boama Payao. Boatin Akwesi Dako. Boatin Amapoma. Boatin Joseph. Bobie Evans Opoku. Bochel. Brahima Muhammad Bawa. Bua Emmanuel Amafi. Bukari Joseph Nikwe. Chinya Amid Wishahaku. Traja Samson Tangumbu. Chiwete Andrew Dari. Krenso Labeku. Hujo Comfort Doyo. Hujo Joseph. Hujo Robert Wisdom. Dafia Macro Roxen Nelson Echekwame. Dalu Thomas Ada. Dalu Thomas Ada. Dapila Kletu Seiju. Daku Daniel Ohene. Daku Mensa Kwabnotre. Dauda Collins. Dawuni Abukari. Derry Ambrose. Jonobo Alex Tete. Donko Elvis Morris. Donko Kwabena. Duka George Mreku. Eyanana. Fojo John in team. For Hassel Atuba. Frimpon Joseph. Bami Jujoli. George Samuel Nate. Gansal Hassan Kobna. Gate Joe. Gidisu Wisdom. Gomadoyao. Gomashi Ablajifa. Jemfi Lakwesi. John Alexander. John Mensa Richard. Hammond Kobnata Hill. Hansen Norte Yves. Haruna Seidu. Hayford Ophelia Mensa. Alexander Roosevelt. Ibrahim Ahmed. Ibrahim Musala Muhammad. Ibrahim Mohammed. Idrisu Habib. Idrisu Haruna. Isifu Seidu. Jabbar John Benham. Jaja Yusuf Isaka. Jalula Stephen Pambin. Joshua Godfrey Seidu. Jinapo John Abdullahi. Jinapo Samuel Abdullahi, Kinney Jeffrey, Kisi Dixon Adumako, Kunedu Akwesi, Kumsin Mavis Howard, Kosa Martin Kwekwe J. Mensah, Kodo Benjamin Komla, Kum Ebenezer Kojo, Kuma John Ampuntua, Kuma Joseph Kwame, Kuyon Solomon, Kwachi Akapita Yao, Kwatin Kwekwa Jiman, Kofi Festus Sewa, J. Mensah Bonsu Osei, Tremi Nelson, Labi Oscar Ofori, Lati Agnes Now, Liwal Oscar, Mahama Asiesieni, Mahama Nasil Ture, Menu Adabo Francis, Mafu Emmanuel, Mafu Kofia Himkra, Mbomba Thomas, Mensah Bettina Nefua Crosby, Mensah Francisca Oting, Mensah Isaac Ej, Mensah Joseph Kwesi, Mensah Gipsy Nayele, Mensah Andrew Kofi Japa, Morrison Cynthia Mamle, Muntaka Muhammad Mubarak, Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba, Nanja Sanja, Napari Dominic, Nawani Mark Kurt, Newman Dakwan, Nitiwu Dominic Binga Majuna, Inkansa Bwedu Mavis, Nokoi Kofi Ako, Nogbe Ernest Henry, Notuko Toe Peter Kwesi, Intim Adelaide, Intim Augustine Collins, Intosu Helen Ajua, Nyakote Albert Tete, Nyako Bismarck Tete, Nyako Kingsley, Nyako Kwamina Minta, Obinte Chief George Kwabena, Obin Boatin Alfred, Oklu Lindo Hiniwa Akwele, Odamson Isaac Ashai, Ofosio Jari Elizabeth, Okofu Date Williams, Ochreje Kum Kofi, Opoku Davis Ansan, Opoku Eric, Opoku Isaac Yao, Opon Kroma Kojo, John Frimpong, Osei Kennedy Nyako, Osei Asari Abna, Osei Wusu Joseph, Oti John Kwabna Bless. Otute Christian Quality. Owusubio Benito. Owuswe Kufu Asla. Peito Desmond de Graft. Pelpo Abdul Rashid Hassan. Prempe Frida Kosia. Prempe Matthew Opoku. Kwate Henry. Kwesi James Jechi. Ramadan Mohammed Adamu. Rikitan George Kweku. Safu Sarah Ajwa. Sandari Sebastian Miniso. Sani Suleiman Adamu. Sani John Kobna Bam Abwa. Soya Queen Samami Pokwa. Sefer Richard Kwame. Setra Benjamin Yabua. Sosu Francis Xavier Kojo. Sowa Dela Ajwa. Sowa Rita Nao Dole. Superi Adams Mohammed. Suleiman Adama. Al Hassan Tampuli. Suleimana Yusuf. Suma Anthony Kwakara. Ahidu Abdul Razak. Teria Augustine. Tel Abi Ebenezer Oklite. Tete Joycelyn. Tete Sylvester. Tete Agbotui Gisela. Tete Joseph Akwete. Toffee Dorcas. Obu Peter Lanshini. Tuferu Mohammed Hadi. Chum Ampo for Gifty. Chum Berima Paul Apreku. Yusuf Mustafa. Vanderpoy Alfred Oko. Vanderpoy Edwin Nilante. David. Reku Brobe Bright. Woyo me Kobna Mensa. Zidim Bid and Watazumo.
Very well. Honorable members, we now turn to item 5. Since we don't have any message from the president and we also don't have any communication, formal communication from the speaker. So let's turn to item 5, which is correction of votes, proceedings on yesterday night sitting. So we'll begin from page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page number 12. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. And finally, page 19. Honorable members, in the absence of elections, the votes and proceedings of yesterday, 9th sitting, 20th February 2024, is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, I don't have any admitted statement with me. We will then move to public business. So let me come to you, leadership.
Speaker, yesterday when Speaker was presiding, we had an understanding that we might be taking the appointment committee report so that we'll be able to constitute it so that they can work on the present nominee. So wanted, with your leave, to plead that if we can suspend sitting now so that the committee on selection will now have their meeting, get the report ready, then we'll convene. So if we can suspend for like an hour. Thank you, Speaker.
Yes.
Speaker, yes. The committee of selection yesterday was asked, and then the agreement was that we are going to meet to discuss the constitution of the appointment committee. And so we can take a suspension of that. Thank you.
So how long are we?
Mr. Speaker, an hour should be okay.
Come again?
An hour.
1 hour. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, may I suggest that time now is 10:40, so we come back here exactly 12 noon.
Yes.
So it becomes 1 hour 20 minutes. I think that will be conducive. If the meeting delays, then we know that by 12 noon on the dot we can resume sitting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Honorable members, I will for indulge to allow me to suspend sitting for 1 hour 20 minutes. 1 hour 20 minutes. Sitting is hereby suspended. We are coming back at 12 noon.
Honorable members, welcome from the suspension of sitting. I need to be brought up to speed as to which item we should take now. So leadership, please kindly guide me.
Before we went on the suspension, we had agreed that the Committee on Selection will meet to discuss, as we directed yesterday, on the appointment. So we have had that discussions and the names have been provided. So if the report on the Committee on Selection is ready, we could take that now. Yes, Mr. Speaker, my colleague is very right. I can't see the particular. We can lay the report of the Committee on Selection. If it's not ready, then I'm sure they can prepare an addendum. But Mr. Speaker, yesterday, before we left, we decided that today we would attempt to conclude work on the proper human sexual bill. So whilst we wait for the other paper addendum, maybe we can attempt to continue work on that.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Whip of the majority.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief Whip of the minority on the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, definitely there are amendments that is in there. One in the name of the Deputy Majority Leader, who is not here, and some in the name of Honorable Samuel George Nati. He is equally not here. So definitely, if we could just look at the appointment, the Committee on Selection. My understanding is that it was ready. They brought it up here, had a look at it, and then we agreed that that was what we are going to take. But at the moment, the sponsor and then those proposed for the various amendments are not even in the chamber. Mr. Speaker, well, if you sponsor amendment to the bill, it is your responsibility to be available to move your amendment. And in particular, this bill, there are times even the chairman of the committee was absent and or sponsors moved amendment, and we made progress. So there shouldn't be any difficulty moving. In fact, you can move the amendment on behalf of the Deputy Majority Leader. Since you know much about it, you can move the amendment. So there shouldn't be any problem. We can make progress. This, Mr. Speaker, we made it quite clear yesterday that the procrastination regarding this bill has to end somewhere. And the idea that somebody made a proposed amendment to a private member's bill and his absence means that we cannot progress with the bill. There's nothing in our standing orders that give anybody the right to make a proposal, absent himself, and stop the progress of the bill. So maybe it will be a good idea you place the Deputy Majority Leader to quickly come into the chamber and move his amendment, and then we take a decision.
Yes, please.
Speaker, thank you very much. Speaker, indeed, I support the position of the minority whip in this matter. Speaker, indeed, in the past, I have sponsored amendments, and in my absence, the practice has been that either that is presumed withdrawn, or a member will move it on my behalf. And the House proceeded with bill before it. So I believe that the first deputy majority whip, second deputy majority whip is capable of moving the amendment on behalf of the deputy majority leader so that we can make progress in the matter. In lieu of that, then that the amendments are withdrawn, then we can make progress. Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Haruna Idrisu.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, you clearly asked for guidance from leadership. And at present, two issues been raised. I think we should deal with them in a more methodical manner. For instance, Mr. Speaker, you yourself chair the selection committee. So leadership should build consensus for the report of the selection committee to be late because of the urgency you emphasize on the recomposition of committees. We resolve that, we then will come back to take motions. Then we can do the consideration of the proper human sexuality bill. As to whether a member is present or not in the chamber, that should not guide the decision to proceed further with bill. We will move on. I'm sure those members are alive to their responsibility. They may be working towards the chamber. So, Mr. Speaker, 1 in 10. I think that, Mr. Speaker, you should authorize somebody to lay the report on your behalf whilst we wait for the other paper addendum to consider the motion because of the urgency of the recomposition of the committee. After that, we can then look at what business is available, even if it is not human sexuality. We can take one other item while waiting for them to make the phone calls to get the sponsors of those amendments present in the chamber for us to, they are here. Some of them are here, but he specifically mentioned Deputy Majority Leader and the Honorable Sam George, who are key sponsors of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, as much as I associate myself partially with Honorable Haruna Idrisu, for us to look at the report of the Committee on Selection, but with regards to the human sexual rights, Mr. Speaker, about 29 amendments have been proposed, and out of the 29 amendments, 20 are in the name of the Deputy Majority Leader, and 4 or 5 are in the name of Honorable Sam George. They are not here. If we want to do proper work, so that at the end of the day, every input, every decision that we are taking, the whole House is carried. Up to 20 amendments have been proposed by a member. I don't have any authorization from him to actually move that motion or amendment. And if I don't have authorization from him to move an amendment, I don't think I can do so. And more to the point, he should be heard. Mr. Speaker, he should be heard on this 20 amendment he proposed, so that if the House decision, they will be able to see how we will get there. But I don't think it would be right to say that somebody can move it if we don't have authority to do so, or to ignore up to 20 amendments. It wouldn't be fair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are you a sponsor? Honorable Muntaka.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not one of the sponsors.
But you want to have a say?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You may go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I heavily participated in the consideration stage of the bill. And Mr. Speaker, at every stage of the bill, almost all the amendments that the Deputy Majority Leader has proposed came up and it was defeated. And Mr. Speaker, trying to frustrate, for lack of better word, the process of passing this bill is going to generate almost every single effort that he made that he lost into a second process. And now, Mr. Speaker, if truly he was interested in moving this amendment, it was advertised that it would be taken yesterday and today. And we all agreed that yesterday that this was going to be done today. Because yesterday we were making effort to get it done. So if it's absent and we use that as an excuse that because it's not around, we should leave it. Then, Mr. Speaker, we are rather facilitating the frustration that are being to frustrate the passage of this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that to be fair, let's start. If it's not there to move it, if any other person is interested in moving it, the person moves it on his behalf, and then we'll make a determination so that we can bring a finality to this. Mr. Speaker, this attempt to say that because it's not around, we should stand the bill and wait for him. Mr. Speaker, I don't think it will be useful to this House at this stage. So, Mr. Speaker, I will encourage you to let us move on with the bill and then try and see whether we can bring finality to read today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the last person.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we rightly agree yesterday, the Chief Whip, Minority Chief Whip, mentioned that this bill has been with us for a very long time. And there is an attempt by some group of people to forestall or prevent the bill being passed. And we see it as a sabotage and we see it as an intention attitude. Mr. Speaker, this morning we agreed that we were going to meet with one of the sponsors of the amendment, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, and we rightly met as sponsors, some of the sponsors, and then we told him in the face that, well, his suggestions, we agree, but when it comes to the floor, he should bring it up, and then if the House agrees, we'll take it, but if the House doesn't agree, we'll not take it. So we all agree generally that 12 o'clock we'll be coming back to the House to take this final second consideration stage. Mr. Speaker, we continue forever. I believe this is the time for us to take this final second consideration and pass it. The second sponsor of amendments, Honorable, who is a colleague sponsor, is also around. And I don't, he is not willing to take his amendment. We just gloss over it and then we'll pass the bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, before we continue with the bill, let me, on your behalf, acknowledge the presence of some visitors who are visible at the public gallery. We have 32 visitors from the University of Education, Winneba, led by the host by name Samuel Selassie. As you know, the University of Education is located at the Efutu constituency in the central region. Honorable members, on your behalf, I welcome them to the Parliament of Ghana. I'm sure a lot of them would have been in the student parliament in the University of Education, Winneba, and it's good that they are to see what we do on a daily basis. Dear students, you are welcome and keep on coming. We want you to learn more, get better than us, so that in future you can improve on what we are doing. So you move your seats. Honorable members, at the commencement of public business, we go to the main item that is under consideration, which I think can be found at page 17 of the order paper as item 37. Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 21 at the second consideration stage. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, just for your guidance, that we move into item 37. I just needed your guidance that the member who have filed the amendment up to 20.
Now, remember, I don't want to have any impression or perception that there's a deliberate attempt to filibuster and to delay the passage of this bill. I don't want to have that.
It's never so.
We have done the consideration stage. We've gone through that. This is second consideration stage. And so please, don't be raising red herrings at this time. Please, clearly on the order paper, we are moving to clause 6. And you know the practice. Clause 6. If the mover of the motion is not available, you know what we do. If any of you have his mandate to move the proposed amendment on his behalf, you may do so now. Yes.
Speaker, thank you very much. I rise to seek guidance in respect of the matter before the House. And I particularly refer to Order 171, Rule 4. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, if I may read, where a bill has been ordered to pass through a second consideration in respect of a particular part or parts of the bill, or some proposed new clause or new schedule, the House shall consider that relevant provision and any amendment which may be proposed to the Mr. Speaker. My understanding of this provision is that the present amendment being proposed at the second consideration is actually properly before the House. There's no indication that the proposal amendment must necessarily move it. The House has the right to consider the amendment, a decision whether the member is available or not. It is this House. So we can proceed and consider the amendments and take a decision. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, 171 deals with second consideration of bills, and 171 gives the opportunity for any member to rise up before we proceed to the third reading of the bill to call on the House to take the bill through a second consideration stage, either in whole or part. And 2 says, notice of this motion is not required. And if the motion is agreed to, the bill will immediately pass through a second consideration. And 3 says, where the whole bill has been ordered to pass through a second consideration, the House shall go through the bill in the manner provided for in Order 170. And so when you go to Order 170, which deals with procedure at consideration stage of bills, 171 says, at the consideration stage of A, the Speaker shall call the number of each clause, and the clerk shall read the head note of each clause. No amendment is proffered. The Speaker shall put the question that clause so and so stands part of the bill. after each clause has been called. So that is the procedure we are adopting. If the person is not there to move the motion, that is it. It's lost, and we move on. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, just for guidance under Order 1701B, where a member rises when a clause is called to indicate that the member intends to move an amendment, the Speaker shall not put the question on the clause until the member had been heard. I just needed your guidance on this with regards to this amendment. Now that the member is
Have you read it again?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Where a member rises.
Yes.
But where is the member here rising?
So, Mr. Speaker, that's the guidance I need. The member is not here, not to talk about moving it. So, what do we do in that stage?
So,
but if the member is not heard, we can read on it or put a question to it. No, I don't know where.
Yes, clause 6.
Detention with intent to commit prohibited sexual activity.
Honorable members, in the absence of any authority to move the motion.
The member is just entering the chamber now, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable member, we are at clause 6. Clause 6.
Mr. Speaker, clause 6 is advertising my name as a result of my proposed amendment. Mr. Speaker, permit me to brief you on an intervening action by me. Yesterday, I did indicate on the floor that I intend to engage the sponsors for us to get deeper into some consensus on the amendments I proposed, largely non-custodial sentence for aspects of. Suffice to state that, in principle, I am with them on the objects bill, and materially, much of the bill, we are adding them on sale. Mr. Speaker, I have accordingly followed up, engaged the minority leader, because yesterday the minority front bench indicated that any such engagement with the sponsors must first start with the leave of the leadership, which I felt it was right. I did indicate to him that I would write formally to him to inform him of the steps I'm taking. I also spoke to the minority chief whip and few of the sponsors. Mr. Speaker, I have since delivered the letter to the minority leader's office, and I brought in a copy, which copy is with him now. I have also delivered to your good office the original of communication to you, indicating the steps I believe if we take as a house, we will be able to do these minor parts of the bill. Again, Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General is also in receipt of my letter, and basically I have indicated that it will be proper for him to sit with us, especially as the non-custodial sentencing regime being introduced by them is founded in my amendment, it's better we have a fuller perspective. Mr. Speaker, I need to emphasize respectfully that no attempt whatsoever is being made by me to stall this important bill. However, I want to pass the bill not as a divided house, but as a house we build consensus on this critical bill. So, Mr. Speaker, if my colleagues will grant that prayer, we would have the opportunity to do what I seek to do. Mr. Speaker, just by way of emphasis, I have proposed in the letter that the two flag bearers for the 2024 elections be engaged by the sponsors and my good self.
Honorable Member, you are taking advantage of my grace by abusing the practice and procedure of this House. There must always be a rule to go by. We are not at the referral of the bill to a committee for consideration. We passed that. We've done the second reading, gone through all the principles and policies. We've done the consideration. Now, you called on the House to do second consideration stage on some clauses of the bill. We now cannot go back to stakeholder engagements and all those things. There is no such in our practice. So you are completely out of order. Please, actions speak louder than words. Take note of that. Actions speak louder than words. It's not a matter of just getting out and saying, I'm not opposed to the bill. I'm in complete support of the bill. Meanwhile, your actions are speaking differently from the words you are using. Please, this House must continue to consider and do what it is authorized to do. After that, anybody else can decide on what to do. I can no longer extend this grace for a delay in the processing of this bill. We must move on. Clause 6.
Mr. Speaker, that application having been refused, although, Mr. Speaker, we are the masters of our own rules, and under rule of win-win, we, at consideration, we may apply. I take it that the application has been refused. And I had proposed this on the grounds that it was a new thing that was coming, and I felt that we could winnow and have further discussion. And the records of this House would bear me out that I had actually indicated that colleagues have also said they would be happy we look at it together. And that was the step I was taking. And it was so in good. Mr. Speaker, I want the record to reflect. I was doing so in good faith. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I respect your ruling and I proceed to move the clause 6, the subclause 2, line 5. You delete the existing provisions and insert community service of not less than 3 months and not more than 5 months. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, I see that your proposed amendments to clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are all in the same words the same import, the same spirit. Could we House take a position on this and then from there proceed to the other proposed amendments? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to oppose the amendment proposed by the Deputy Leader and to remind him that he is a trained lawyer, that in law there is a significant difference between a felony and a misdemeanor. And the word sponsors of Clause 6 is the use of the word misdemeanor, which he wants to substitute. Misdemeanor ordinarily will mean not a serious crime by any definition. Not a crime. So, Mr. Speaker, Parliament is not even asking that this be elevated to a felony, but a misdemeanor. Therefore, he is completely out of place wanting to reduce this to community service. This is the barest minimum that this House can do to preserve our values as people and as a society. So he knows, and he knows which of them is weightier in law. A misdemeanor can never, ever in law be weightier than a felony. And the words of the sponsors in their ordinary meaning is to opt for a misdemeanor, the minimum of it, Mr. Speaker. So I think that colleagues should support what is in the original bill, that Clause 6 be maintained. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, well, let me listen to Honourable Muntaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you couldn't have said it better earlier when you said actions speaks louder than words. But, Mr. Speaker, I thought the colleague, the Deputy Majority Leader, was going to come up with some new arguments. Because everything that he's been saying are things that he has said already when we're at the constitution stage. It was heavily considered and he was defeated. That even led to other amendments. Colleagues, my plea is that, Mr. Speaker, we should not further take more time on this, because this argument has been made again and again, clause after clause, and it's been defeated. And since he moved the amendment, I thought we were going to hear some other new argument. Nothing new. It's the same thing. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to plead that, like you rightly said, from 6 all the way to, I think, 16, about the same thing, and probably we just need to put one question to all of that so that we can make progress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, those in favour of the reconsideration of 6th as moved by the Deputy Majority Leader, say aye. Those against, no. No. They must have it. Honourable members, the proposed amendment is negated. Honourable members, I go by my earlier statement. Since how many days? I think 2 days ago, up to today, the House has maintained the same position in respect of the proposed amendments to Clause 6 up to the 16th. And this applies to all those proposed amendments. So I direct that the proposed amendments herein be withdrawn. Those left, because I have to be putting the same question on all the clauses and you'll be defeating it. So it's better, neater for him to withdraw them, because it will be a complete waste of time of the House to keep on repeating the same thing and getting the same results. So, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, you may do the proper thing.
Speaker, as it pleases you, that is the Mr. Speaker, this is your ruling, your directive. It's not the directive of the House. It's Mr. Speaker's directive. So, Mr. Speaker, if you may be pleased, I shall yield in obedience to your directive. Suffice to draw the House's attention to Order 170B, 71B. I'm just drawing the House's attention. And Mr. Speaker, I know that when it comes to clause by clause decisions, there is no express provision for any other form of voting except the voice votes. I know. But, Mr. Speaker, I would want to perhaps make an application records and invoke your discretion, if your discretion will permit. I have been defeated by a voice vote, but whether I am entitled to apply to you, Mr. Speaker, for a secret ballot on this clause. Because, Mr. Speaker, I know colleagues are with me. I am happy to be alone publicly. I know. Yeah, yes. Would you allow? I'm only invoking Mr. Speaker's discretion. It doesn't matter. Posterity speaks louder. Posterity speaks louder. Okay. I agree with Mr. Speaker. This is my position. It's me and me alone. I take responsibility alone. And I'm saying that I am making an application to Mr. Speaker. If it pleases Mr. Speaker, he may what? No. I am abandoning that one. I go with Mr. Speaker. I say I yield in obedience to his directive. So it means all will be withdrawn. However, I'm saying that if it will please Mr. Speaker, there is no express provision to enable me challenge the ruling for a secret ballot. But I'm appealing that if you would exercise discretion in my favor, considering the sensitivity of the matter, it is possible, not possible, it's probable that colleagues who are in agreement with non-custodial sentence may not have the courage to vote openly. Therefore, if Mr. Speaker will be pleased, I am only calling for a secret ballot. It's not provided in our orders. But if Mr. Speaker will be pleased, he may grant it, he may refuse it. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I yield, Mr. Speaker, I yield in obedience, complete to your directive. I yield in complete obedience to your directive.
So I take it that in yielding to my directive, in complete obedience, you will proceed to withdraw the proposed amendments on the order paper.
Well, yes. To make it complete, in view of the fact that...
In complete obedience.
Yes, so, Mr. Speaker, I'm doing so. I need to... Mr. Speaker, excuse me. Colleagues, if I was that coward, I wouldn't be here. Please, allow me. We are enacting a law. We are not supposed to agree on everything. So let's take it easy. Guys, Mr. Speaker, guys is normal. Come on. Oh, Mr. Speaker, they won't even take it lighter comment. Mr. Speaker, I yield in obedience to your ruling, and I accordingly withdraw the subsequent amendment on the grounds that the first amendment that has been defeated has consequential effect on the others. So it will be odious. It will be odious, an exercise in futility, if I proceed to move those amendments. I'll be wasting the time of the House. So, Mr. Speaker, your directive on all fours, you are right. I accordingly withdraw them and sit down. Thank you.
Honorable members, the proposed amendments to Clause 7, Clause 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 16 are hereby withdrawn. But I'll put the question on the whole of Clause 6. And the question is that Clause 6 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. Clause 6 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Page 20 of the order paper, we have a proposed amendment which comes in the form of a new clause, and that is by Deputy Majority Leader. It's Roman XIV. New clause.
The old law that we were taught, we cannot place something on nothing. As in Latin, et in hilis, et in hulus. The Speaker, the superstructure has been destroyed by the ultra-conservatives. Yes.
Honorable, do I take it that you are proceeding to withdraw the new clauses that you proposed for the bill? That is X, IV, XV, XVI, SVII, SVIII, XIX, XX are all to be taken as with.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, forgive me to withdraw my earlier submission. I think the government of this proposed amendment is basically to add on to the mandatory counseling, to introduce a new clause, which is mandatory counseling after the conviction. And I may read it aloud, that upon conviction of any offense under this act, the court may, in addition to any other sentence, in other words, I concede that my earlier amendment have failed. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this amendment stands on its own leg. So it wouldn't be appropriate to withdraw. So what I'm basically saying is that post-conviction, we have the behavioral matter. If it is so, we cannot leave the person to rot. If it is the case of the House that the earlier submissions made should fail, and same haven't failed, I then move to introduce this new clause, which will allow for mandatory counseling to be done after conviction. Mr. Speaker, I accordingly move in terms of the sub-clause 1 and 2 so that we don't waste our time. I thank you.
Yes, yes, Honorable Sam George.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. As noble as the intent may be, the fact is this is a private member's bill, and we are minded by the constitutional provisions of not introducing private members' bill that attracts costs to the state. When you read the setup of the counseling panel, it is designed in such a way and manner that will impose a cost to the state. And so we would respectfully disassociate with this position and urge him that after we've passed the bill in its current state, the Attorney General may, on behalf of the government, bring that in as a government amendment to the existing bill. But in this current shape and form, we take this because it would constitute a cost to the state if you are bringing in, because it's a new mandatory body and counseling that is being set up. And that in itself, if you even read the further amendment, you see the constitution of the panel, the constitution panel for the counseling, a practicing professional counselor with at least 10 years experience, a representative of the Ghana Christian Council with 10 years practice as a clergy, a Muslim cleric nominated National Chief Imam, a lawfully registered chief and member of either the National House of Chiefs, Regional House of Chiefs, or Traditional Council, a representative of the Ghana Prison Service, a representative of the Ghana Bar Association with at least 10 years, a recognized family member, and a social worker from the Department of Social Welfare. All these persons will introduce a cost to the state. For this reason, as a private member's bill, we are opposed to these amendments. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, I actually read your proposals, and I think it's advisable to humbly them.
Mr. Speaker.
It's completely, those proposed amendments are alien to the bill.
If you don't give me a smile, I'll be so impeded. Mr. Speaker, because at one point you are frowning, how do I freely? Mr. Speaker, it's a form of intimidation from the chair. It's a form of intimidation for the chair. It's more bona fide to express my views. However, disagreement is high. So give me a smile, that's your style. So I can freely express myself. Father, oh Father. Mr. Speaker, a moment ago, colleagues on the other side were attributing bad faith to me. And they were saying that perhaps intent is not sufficiently visible. Mr. Speaker, my respected friend and colleague, Honorable Sam George, is not opposed to this amendment in principle. What he is saying is that he is of the view that if this is introduced, it's going to be a cost. It's going to be a cost to the state. But isn't the state supposed to take care of its citizenry? So, because you say we should just pass it, and then later Attorney General should bring it. Mr. Speaker, the basis of the opposition should be properly founded. We are talking about you introducing a conviction, saying that somebody to go to jail. This amendment, this new provision is talking about mandatory counseling to help the person out of a situation. Now you saying that because to do with cost. Mr. Speaker, let's read my proposal well. It can't just be withdrawn. Let it well. It is rather for the greater good. It is for the greater good. Mr. Speaker, there's counseling in the prison, there can't be counseling there. You and I know. Mr. Speaker, we all what happens in our prisons. But Mr. Speaker, we all know our prisons don't have that sufficient facilities. So I am saying that let us have it in the bill. Make it express enough. They should pay attention to the details of that amendment I'm introducing. But if they say they want to shoot it down, let the record reflect that I moved and I lost it.
Honorable members, I thought this is a simple matter. I've guided the mover of the motion to do the proper thing. If you go through the whole procedure of admission and processing of private members' bill, this kind of proposed amendments are not entertained at all because of the nature and implication. So that's why I've guided you. You are worried about my not smiling. Today is not a smiling day, so don't be surprised the speaker is not smiling. I want to get this work done. It's been before this house since 2021. And so I'm a bit concerned about the delay in process of these bills. Yes, I see that the Honorable Muntaka is really very
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. Mr. Speaker, I remember at the very beginning, I was very concerned about the tendency for this second constitution to delay us. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw all of us attention to clause 10 of the original bill, where it's talking about regulation. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'll read. What we have passed, or what we had gone past, is that the minister may, in consultation with the ministers responsible for health and gender, children and social protection, by legislative instrument, may regulate to A, regulate and approve service provider, and B, provide for I, the support of victims of sexual activities prohibited under this act, and the rest. But nowhere in the bill have we made reference to this, where the LI could be made using this. This is the reason why we wish that, yes, we take off the mandatory, where it now makes it by force, but we take the mandatory and keep the counseling. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we overstretch, so that we take the B, the 2, as the bill is saying, and only keep 22 upon conviction for any offense under this act, the court may, in addition to any other sentence imposed, mandate the offender to undergo counseling program focusing on proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, and leave it at this. So that when we are doing regulation, we will have basis to be able to say that within the act itself, this has been mentioned, without the elaborate one. If we do that, Mr. Speaker, it may help us better than maybe probably throwing everything away, and then when we get to regulation, having the challenge of where are you having within the bill the basis for suggesting that these ministers may be able to provide this service. I thought that maybe this is something that we can avert our mind to. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Haruna Idris.
Well, Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I was expecting the deputy leader to take a cue from you that where we have reached, we are guided by Order 171 and more importantly now Order 170 in the second consideration stage of this bill. What he is seeking to introduce, probably he is abandoning the primary objective even of a custodial sentence. And it's tried law that when you are imprisoned, two objectives are to be achieved: rehabilitation and reformation. You need not provide for it. It's the primary duty of the prisons administration of Ghana are schooled enough. Mr. Speaker, I used to be in the social administration department of the society. Rehabilitation and reformation are the core objectives of the prison service. So you need not guide them through legislation what to do. Once you are in there, regrettable as it may be, it will take a natural course. So, Deputy Leader, abandon it. Then to my friend, Honorable Sam George. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, many of our colleagues must go to your succinct ruling on when you refer to some ruling on Article 108. As a person, you made a definite pronouncement on this matter, where you were conclusive that some of the costs are incidental costs. We don't need to go that way. So, Deputy Leader, withdraw it and we'll make progress. But probably our colleagues must reread your ruling on 108 as you did to guide this House and guide the executive. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
yes, please.
I will plead with my colleagues not to be in a hurry to be dismissive. The Honorable former Chief Whip, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, has proffered further amendment to the effect that, in his view, the mandatory counseling could be deleted for us to maintain the clause. Mr. Speaker, earlier on, the submission by my friend Sam George was to the effect that the provision for counseling would imply cost. By imposing custodial sentence on a person, somebody serving a jail term, is in itself cost to the state. We cannot reprobate and approbate or make disjointed argument. With respect, keep when you are in
Honorable
jail, you are
member,
fair.
this matter is before the court. It's not open for debate here. The court will determine and guide us as to this nature of cost, which is part, either incidental or major and that kind of thing. So let's move on with our work. Leave the rest to the other arm of it, which is the judiciary. Please.
Mr.
So
Speaker,
let's move
please.
on.
Mr. Speaker, please. He was opposed to my amendment, and was his ground for his opposition. That is why I am giving a point of reply. Mr. Speaker, with respect, I be heard. He was opposing on the basis of cost. And I'm saying that if he is talking about cost because of counseling, then jailing a person in a service cost. That's all the point I'm making. I'm not saying anything different or outside of the discussion before us. However, Mr. Speaker, I am inclined to the further amendment by my senior colleague, and if we are minded, we go by the new rendition, which only changes the heading, establishment of counseling. So the mandatory, I'm ready to use that, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, my guidance is not only to all members, particularly those who have aired their views either in support or against what you are proposing. Please, this is now not in our domain. Let's proceed with what we are mandated to do. So please kindly withdraw the proposed amendments to add the new clauses as captured on the order paper.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to yield in obedience to your directive to withdraw, that I should withdraw Mr. Speaker, it cannot be willingly. It's in reference to the chair. And that is a practice. You must respect it. That is the chair's directive. So, Mr. Speaker, I accordingly withdraw the following amendment as proposed by me and advertised. XIV, XVI, XVI, XVII, XVIII, XIX, and XS. Mr. Speaker, I need to emphasize here that I am withdrawing them as a result of my respect for the chair and the chair's directive that these, of course, that these are not supposed to be part of, as they do not become part of the foundation of what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, however I disagree, I am withdrawing.
Honorable members, I will use this opportunity to direct that the clerk's office should make available to every member of parliament the past law. In fact, it's a guide to members as to how to submit a private member's bill and how it's processed until it's presented to the House. You have to go through it because there's a lot of effort, a lot of legal process, a lot of advice, a lot of research is usually done to guide the Speaker even before the proposed bill is admitted. For the process itself, then at the end of the process, there's a lot of guidance to the Speaker by experts before it is finally admitted to be on the other paper. and members need to be versed with these processes so that when it comes to this stage, we don't take the House backwards. So I direct that the proposed process as mentioned by the Deputy Majority Leader be withdrawn as stated. Honourable members, we now move on to page 23 of the order paper, where we have some proposals intended to take us through the second consideration stage of the bill, and they stand in the name of Honorable Samuel Nati George and Bernard Ahiafo. We take those now. Page 23. Honorable members, we are asked to take a second consideration stage of Clause 2. Clause 2 of the bill as considered. Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise to move and propose subclause 2, paragraph D, line 2, delete traditional and insert religious.
Honourable members, this is in respect of clause 2, subclause 2, D. Am I right? Which there is a traditional institution, a church, a mosque, or any other traditional organization. Is this second traditional that he's proposing? It should rather be religious organization, not traditional organization. That is the proposed amendment. It's for the consideration house. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, I actually stated there are two traditional in the D, and the other one, which is the tradition, we thought that it should rather be religious organization instead of additional organization again. And so I support the amendment.
Honourable members, I put the question. Those in favor of the proposed amendment, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The amendment. I now put the question on the whole of clause 2. Yes, please.
Honourable Speaker, before you put the question on clause 2, there is another amendment that was in that. We took a decision to delete Ghanaian in the entire bill because every law passed by this House is Ghanaian. And that was done in all as a consequential thing, but in what the draft persons brought, we realized that in clause 2 and 3, Ghanaian still repeats itself. It still features in there. So just a consequential amendment.
Honourable member, the draft person have taken note of that. As you rightly stated, these consequential amendments, and it will be cleaned up by the draft person. They are here with us. I now put the question on the whole of clause 2. And the question is that clause 2 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honourable members, clause 2 is ordered. Clause 2 as amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Now clause 4. Yes, honorable member.
Okay. Right, Honorable Speaker, I propose an amendment clause 3, paragraph A, line 1.
I don't have that here. I have clause 4.
Yes, clause 4. Clause 4, sub clause 3, item XXII, clause 4. The proposed is to sub clause 3 of that clause 4, paragraph A, line 1, delete another person and insert a person same sex. So it will read, for the purposes of this, sexual intercourse occurs where a person penetrates the anus or mouth of a person of the same sex with the penis of that person or other device. I so move.
Yes, honorable members. The motion is moved for the consideration of the House. I put the question. Those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, let's have it. The amendment is carried. We are still at clause 4. There's a second proposed amendment.
Thank you, Right. It's the same as what we just did, but in clause 4, sub clause 3, paragraph B, the amendment is line 2. The amendment is to delete another person and insert a person of the same sex. So it will read, by use of, for purpose of this section, sexual intercourse occurs where a person, by of any object or device, penetrates or stimulates vagina or anus, a person of the same sex.
Honorable members, I put the question. Those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The amendment is carried. And I put the question on the whole of clause 4. And the question is that clause 4 as subsequently amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, clause 4 as subsequently amended is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 10. The honorable member Bernard Ahiafo. Yes.
Speaker, I have permission of the sponsor of the present amendment to seek your leave to move it on his behalf.
Yes, you may do so.
Thank you very much. Speaker, item number XXIV, clause 10, amendment proposed, sub clause 5, paragraph B, 4, after offense, add the following. Unless it is proved that the principal officer who I did not send to or connive at the commission of the offense, and 2, exercise the degree of reasonable diligence as ought in the circumstances to have been exercised to prevent the commission of the offense. Mr. Speaker, I so moved. Mr. Speaker, whilst on my feet, I pray for the opportunity to make a further amendment to the Roman numeral 2 portion of the amendment, and it reads, exercise the degree of reasonable diligence as necessary in the circumstances to have been exercised to prevent the commission of the offense. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so that in my present amendment, ought will give way to necessary. Humbly submitted.
Yeah, I've noted that. Honorable members, the motion has been moved is for the consideration of the House. I put the question. Those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. Aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. I now proceed to put the question on the whole of clause 10. And the question is that clause 10, as subsequently amended, stands part of the. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, clause 10 is ordered to stand part of the bill. Clause 11. We are now at clause 11. Yes, Majority Leader.
Speaker, mine is not really 11. I think I raised the issue of the definition of plus or the deletion of plus because of the position of Q to take care of plus issues. We do one of two things. Either we delete the plus or define plus. Now, what has been done here, take care of that. That is under 90. It doesn't take care of it. And because I explained to the chief sponsor, Honorable Sam Nati George, I thought it would be taken on board when they get there. Since I have to exit. Let me leave that in the hands of.
Honorable members, in the circumstances, I will suspend sitting for just 5 minutes. Sitting is suspended for 5 minutes. Mr. Speaker. Yes, Honorable Majority Leader. Sorry. Honorable members, may we continue with the second consideration stage of the bill. The Majority Leader was putting across a proposal when I suspended the sitting. The mover of the motion, I don't know whether you got a gist of it, then we could consider what he said. Why he's not available now.
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Sam George, yes.
It is something we had engaged on previously, and so we will bring it as an amendment to the interpretation when we get there. It is a definition for the plus. It had not been in the bill, and so we've aligned on that, and so when we get there, we'll handle that.
Yes, okay. Honorable members, the proposed amendment to clause 11 and 12 are similar in the same terms as what we adopted for clause 10. So will I get the support of the House if I proceed to direct the clerk, the draft person, to capture the two proposed amendments in clause 11 and 12 as consequential to the decision taken in respect of clause. And doing so, kindly note that the ought has been deleted and necessary inserted in that clause. As so direct. We can now move to clause 19.
Honorable Speaker, I move to amend the interpretation of LGBTQAP+, line 2. Advertises delete intersex and queer, but Mr. Speaker, I want to make a further amendment. It is to delete intersex end asexual and insert queer. So the amendment, the interpretation section would now read LGBTQAP+, and this is on 20 of the new bill, includes lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, queer, ally, pansexual, and any other sociocultural orientation of sex and sexual relationship that is contrary to the sociocultural orientation of male and female assigned at birth. So it will be to delete intersex and asexual and insert queer. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
I thought you earlier on spoke about the deletion of the plus.
Mr. Speaker, we are not deleting the plus. We would introduce a new amendment for the definition of plus. Because plus has not been defined, even though it's used in the bill, in the acronym, all the letters have been defined except plus. And that is what the majority leader drew our attention to, that we either delete it or delete it. And we've aligned on the definition plus.
Yes, Honorable Adjo Asafo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member for Nigo Pampam, I don't have an issue with proposed amendment of defining words in the bill. But Mr. Speaker, plus, to define plus, I mean, it has its ordinary meaning in mathematics and in so to suggest that you would define plus, Mr. Speaker, I think it would be very ambiguous, considering the fact that its ordinary meaning is ordinary and everybody ought to know what plus means. So I don't think that going option of defining plus would bring clarity to. So you should reconsider the other option, because I don't see why and how we can define plus in this bill. That is my challenge, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, let's finish with the first one. Let's finish with the first one. We say we should delete intersex and insert asexual. Delete asexual and insert where?
Right, Honourable Speaker, with your permission,
delete
intersex
and insert
asexual. Or delete intersex and insert queer.
Yes.
And then subsequently also delete asexual.
Exactly. And so the queer would take the place of intersex. And there's a proposal for us to also delete asexual. Those in favor of the proposed amendment say aye. So, yes, Honorable Bejira.
Mr. Speaker, the last time you gave a directive that and it still repeats itself here, where we have determined at birth. Instead of assigned at birth, we use the word determined at birth, because we noticed that. So when you put a question and we agree on assigned at birth, it means that we have to maintain assigned at birth. But we agree, and you gave a consequential directive that wherever you see determined at birth, assigned at birth, it should be determined at birth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Where is it? Where is that word? in the definition.
That's the where you started from 1903, where we have LGBT plus plus plus, and then find the last line where we have orientation of male and female assigned at birth. It should be determined at birth. Then also B, Roman numeral III, where we have under the color of a particular ethnic community relating to puberty rights or passage of an adolescent youth whose gender is assigned at birth. In fact, we have various places where it's supposed to be determined at birth instead of assigned at birth. Thank you, Mr.
Honorable members, I'll just give a directive as a consequential amendment that wherever the word assigned, past tense, appears in the bill, we should delete and insert determined. A direct clerk, I should say the draft person, to do so. Now, honorable members, I put the question on clause. Yes, there are still proposed amendment to clause 19. So please, let's move on.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to propose an amendment to the definition of marriage under clause 19. Marriage means a customary law union, a union by ordinance, or a Mohammedan union between a man and a woman whose sex is determined at birth. This is to replace the current rendition. The rendition says marriage means a customary law union, a union by ordinance, or a Mohammedan union between a man and a woman. What we are doing is to add whose sex is determined at birth.
Honorable members, I'm not too about this proposed definition of marriage. I don't know whether the draft person and the proposers have truly cross-checked the existing law on the definition of marriage. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, the addition of whose sex is determined at birth is to ensure that you don't have people who have transgendered come in and say that once you've defined marriage as a customary law union between a man and a woman, and you don't specify that it is a man and woman whose sex was determined at birth, a man who has transgendered to a woman and a woman who's transgendered to a man can come and say that per the literal definition.
Honorable member, that's not the area of concern to me. It's the use of the word union. customary law union, a union by ordinance, or a Mohammedan union. Is that how marriage is? Yes, please.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. The definition that we're seeking to couch, Speaker, we shouldn't forget that there are existing laws. And marriage, I know it's defined under the Matrimonial Causes Act. And we are seeking to define it under this act. One, Mr. Speaker, there's no cross-referencing to the Matrimonial Causes Act. And it is a bit of a departure from the definition of marriage under the Matrimonial Causes Act. So what I'll plead, or what I am urging the House to do, is to have a look at the Matrimonial Causes Act, the definition properly so called for marriage under that act, cross-reference. If we want to make a departure from it, we do a sub-clause and then properly define what we mean by marriage with relation to or in reference particularly to this act. But the way we're doing is as if we're deviating from an existing law that already defines marriage. Mr. Speaker, that is my challenge, with no cross-referencing. Thank you.
Yes, please. Honorable.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, I share in the concern of the honorable member for Dominic Kwabena. Mr. Speaker, it won't hurt the legislation if we subject the definition as it exists under 27, the Marriages Act, which defines marriage. So we can simply say that marriage in this law is as defined under the Marriages Act, Cap 127.
It's not that straightforward, because there are different of marriages, and so the law must encapsulate all. But how you put the wording is what is my challenge. Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, interestingly, there is no definition for marriage in the Marriages Act.
No, there is a definition who talks about, like, includes. It's a general one.
Yes, but Mr. Speaker,
I think in the Matrimonial Causes Act, there's some, it was very difficult to get the appropriate words to define. And so they use some general terms, which I don't see here.
Honorable Speaker, Section 43, Matrimonial Causes Act, 1971, defines marriage. It says marriage, except as otherwise provided in Section 41, means a monogamous marriage. That's all the interpretation there. Then Section 41 says application of this act and talks about it applying to monogamous marriages. So this is the only definition. So that's why, as sponsors with the draft office, we realize that no legislation in Ghana, not the Marriage Act or the Matrimonial Causes Act, has a proper definition for marriages. It's true. Properly stated. And that's why we decided to deal with that in this legislation by defining it as a custom law union, a union by ordinance, or a Mohammedan union between a man and a woman. But based on the consequence of the deliberation in this house, during first consideration, decided to now introduce whose gender is determined at birth. But there is no existing definition properly so said in our legislation as say it.
I'm trying to recollect my law, but I recollect there's some definition of marriage who talks about the union between a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others. But if this case law is part of the law, yes.
Indeed, yes, Mr. Speaker. The holding you just quoted is actually in case law. But case law, like you rightly said, is also part of our laws. I think what my brother Sam George can say is that the definition in the Matrimonial Causes Act is very limited. So this legislation is seeking to improve upon that. But willy-nilly, there's a definition given to marriage in the Marriages Act. Just that it's a bit limited of the matters that are subject of this legislation. So we seek to improve it. And it doesn't hurt the legislation, subject it to the existing law and improve it. Mr. Speaker, humbly, that's my position on the matter.
So I have no problem with that. It's how to word it to capture what we know in Ghana. 3 types of marriages. If we want to continuously restrict it to those 3 types, we should capture it in such a way that we don't leave room for any. Yes, honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, that is what we've attempted to do. But it appears that you've raised issue regarding the use of the word union in defining it. So, by way of practice,
when you say customary law union,
yes, I agree with you, Mr. Speaker.
Is the law that is union. Customary law union. You're not talking about a union between a man and a woman. And when you say a union by ordinance,
that is the union. Mr. Speaker, I agree with you. So the drafters can tidy it up we are nearly done. If the drafters can tidy the definition up.
Can I propose that?
Yes. Sam, if you.
Mr. Speaker, on the back of your intervention, can I propose?
I would defer consideration on that clause. And let's look at the last proposed amendment to clause 19. And I'll direct the draft person to relook at that definition vis-a-vis the existing law and make sure that there's clarity. Yes, please.
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to move an amendment to clause 19 with the definition of relevant authority. We want to add it. It doesn't exist as it stands now. For relevant authority to include a member of parliament, a chief, the head of a religious body, a member of a district assembly, or a district chief executive. I see that in the order paper they have advertised or that is to be considered, Right Honourable Speaker. And so the amendment we are proposing is to add the following definition for relevant authority, which came out from the consideration stage. Relevant authority includes a member of parliament, a chief, the head of a religious body, a member of a district assembly, or a district chief executive.
Please draw our attention to the clause that the phraseology relevant authority is used. That will guide us.
Mr. Speaker, that would be in clause 2, I believe, the duty to promote human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, or sorry, Mr. Speaker, clause 17. Clause 17, duty to report and prohibition of extrajudicial treatment. It says in 17.1, a person who has knowledge that an offence is committed under this Act shall report the commission of the offence to a police officer, or in the absence of a police officer, to a relevant authority in the community in which the offence is committed. And so when we took this clause, we were advised by the presiding to interpret relevant authority.
I want the relevant authority to include member of parliament, member of district assembly, district chief executive. Then if they ask why not minister of state, why not heads of state institutes?
Reverend Speaker, respectfully, is because the relevant authority is of that community, and so the locality, and every locality has a member of parliament or has a DC, but ministers have.
What about SAL?
A national, and then the chief.
What about SAL?
Mr. Speaker, SAL is a blot on the current government's conscience and on the Electoral Commission. They don't have a member of parliament yet, but at least they have a chief.
Yes,
there will be a chief there.
Your statement, you said every community has a member of parliament.
Mr. Speaker, with the exception of SAL, every other community in this constituency, in this country, has a member of parliament, has a chief, has the head of a religious body, or a member of the district assembly who will be the assemblyman, or the DC. And Mr. Speaker, I'm even being advised. For example, in Honorable Betty Crosby's constituency, some of them don't have chiefs. They have headmen. And so we would introduce headmen as well.
Why have you left out the queens and the queen mothers?
Mr. Speaker, the constitutional definition of a chief includes queen mothers. So, but
the constitution was drafted and approved in 1992. Today's trends, gender sensitivity.
We are guided. Include the queen mothers.
If you use the term traditional
rulers, yes.
Or authority,
yes,
traditional authorities are talking about head of a religious body or whatever. So it will cover all of them. Yes, please.
We are guided. So it means the rendition will now read: relevant authority includes a member of parliament, traditional authority, head of a religious body, a member of the district assembly, or a district chief executive. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dr. Mafu.
Thank you, Speaker. Please, I would like to have clarity. My brother stated that community has a parliamentarian, a chief, and so on. If I heard him right, first, I want to find out whether the community is talking about, a definition or elements of the community is talking by any of our laws, so that clearly come out of what we are talking about. And also the community that you all have chiefs, community is he talking about? Because it's quite big. That's why I want that definite aspect of what he's talking about, so that we can be clear. We don't create any ambiguity in what we are doing. So I want clarity from him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Actually, he has withdrawn that. Withdrawn that aspect because his attention was drawn.
Thank you, Mr.
to
Speaker.
the fact that
I'm sorry.
That is not the case in reality. Yes, so the proposed amendment now is to define relevant authority to include a member of parliament, traditional authority, relevant authority, traditional authority, traditional rulers, the head of a religious body, now head of religious body. If at a parish you have a number of priests there, only one is the head. The others are reverends and other things. They are not, are you, for that there must be clarity. Approaching of the pastors in the church or the reverends, but not, you said head. Well, you see that you have to reconsider your construction. You now talk about religious leaders. And if I form a one-man church, last person, I think you need to support the House with the last two proposed amendments. I am not too comfortable with the renditions. So, honorable members, if we may defer those to tomorrow, and I will direct the sponsors to get in touch with the draft person for us to get a neater and clearer rendition of the two proposed amendments to clause 19. With this, I defer further.
Very Honourable Speaker, respectfully, the amendment that was being moved by the majority leader, we've now got into 19, which is plus, which I said we had discussed, he had discussed.
Yes, Speaker.
Honourable members, please. Yes, please.
I'm most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw your attention and the attention of the House to a very important issue which is a very high public interest. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, if you could recall, your good self constituted a committee to probe to the receipt and the expenditure of COVID-19. The Speaker, if you could recall, it was a measure of the Health Committee, the Finance Committee. The Speaker, since the constitution of the committee, we have met only once. And that meeting was to draw the roadmap for the execution of the mandate of the committee. Speaker, I'm having to do this because, Mr. Speaker, my several attempts to send reminders to the chairman of the committee has proved futile. Mr. Speaker, I think that, Mr. Speaker, you will have to compel the chairman of the committee with immediate effect to call for a meeting for us to execute the mandate of the committee. Mr. Speaker, I further propose that you will also look at the size of the committee. Mr. Speaker, if you could recall, you constituted a similar committee to probe into the Sputnik 5, the pictures of Sputnik 5. And within a matter of days, the committee presented a report, and this House debated the same, and a decision was taken thereof. Mr. Speaker, I think that anytime this issue comes up,
we don't stand well in the sight of the ordinary Ghanaians. And therefore, I indulge you, Mr. Speaker, I crave your indulgence to compel the chairman of the committee to, as an emergency, to call for a meeting to start the execution of the mandate of the committee you constituted. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to crave your indulgence to drink a fountain of wisdom and to seek guidance for the House. Mr. Speaker, there is an interesting development as far as the various political parties, especially the NPP and NDC, is concerned.
We'll handle the first. I thought you were going to contribute to what he has
Okay,
said.
I just thought that I would raise it and you address both for me, but I am guided.
Let's meet this one, then we can move on to the next. Yes.
I'm grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable, the matter raised by the Honourable Ranking Member on the Health Committee is a very, very important matter. Mr. Speaker, the matter relating to referrals to committees has come up time without number. And I recall that only yesterday, when we were deliberating on the changes that will be happening when committees are reconstituted under the new standing orders, you did draw attention to this, and you said that leadership on both sides should even consider leadership of committees who have let this House down, who have not acted on referrals. Perhaps they should not be reconsidered for the new committees that are going to be reconstituted. That highlights the enormity of the challenge facing us, where referrals are made and committee chairmen in particular refuse to act on them. The Speaker yesterday, the Honourable Minority Leader, was even compelled in a similar circumstance. We had filed a motion, this House had debated a motion, our side has submitted names, and this is on the matter to do with a probe on the National Cathedral. We have been waiting for our colleagues on the other side to just submit names of those who will serve on the committee. We are either taking our constitutional mandate seriously or not. I mean, the people don't elect us to come to this House to waste time, not to attend to matters urgently, and to elect on our constitutional mandate. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that it is time for you to crack the whip. It's time for you to crack the whip, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, under our standing orders, if these referrals are made to the committee chairmen are feet dragging and they don't want to work, we can probably explore Order 262, which says that the House may by motion appoint a special or an ad hoc committee to investigate any matter of public importance, and B, consider any matter that is not within the jurisdiction of any of the standing orders or select committees. So, Mr. Speaker, under Order 262(1)(a), if the relevant select committees would not take referrals seriously, and the last time we were at a workshop, the clerk told us that there are as many as 700 referrals that have not been acted upon. Mr. Speaker, we are not covering ourselves in glory. It doesn't speak well of us. So, if the chair of the various committees who these referrals have been made to don't want to act, and we can't compel them to act, then perhaps we can explore Order 262. But, Mr. Speaker, this cannot continue. This matter of COVID-19, many of our constituents keep asking. Many of our constituents. There is already an Auditor General's report, which is very, very damning. and there are so many outstanding matters. And if we look at the quantums of monies involved, I mean, there's so many figures, depending on who is speaking, whether it's the Minister of Finance, whether it's the President speaking at the State of the Nation address, whether we receive 30 billion or we receive 40 billion or it's 50 billion, all of those matters have to be inquired into. How much really came in, by way of support from our international partners, how much did we, access from funds domestically. Mr. Speaker, cannot continue this way. And I really am on all fours with the Honorable Akando. It is time for action to be taken. We have filed so many motions that are pending. Mr. Speaker, I can go through a tall list. Yes, the airport testing during COVID. We filed a motion. Mr. Speaker, it's been more than a year since we filed that motion on the airport testing during COVID. More than a year. We filed a motion on the National Cathedral. We filed a motion on the VRA spillage. And Mr. Speaker, there's so many of them that are pending. There are some of them we don't even know we really want to move forward or not. I recall the motion on the invasion of Parliament, for example. The motion on that. The night of 6 January 2021. And it's a very, very serious matter. Mr. Speaker, when these motions are admitted and debated by this House, it means that we all agree that these are matters of significance, of national importance, which this House should carry out its constitutional oversight mandate and look into them. So, we are not helping our democracy, we are not helping our own image as an institution. And these are the things that sometimes make people say that the House is not really living up to expectation, and we are becoming a rubber stamp, and all of those things. So, Mr. Speaker, I do not want to bore you with a lot of lamentation, but we must all admit that a lot has gone wrong on this matter relating to referrals and committees not working. And sometimes our colleagues have meeting names and just, delaying the process needlessly. So, Mr. Speaker, we will appeal to you that it is time to crack the whip. And perhaps moving forward, as we do editorial work on the new standing orders, can we consider what should? I've gone through the standing orders, and it appears that we are silent on what should happen. Referrals are made, and the leadership of committees do not act on these referrals. Should this stalemate continue? Should this quagmire continue? Or there should be some sanction? Mr. Speaker, I think that we really cannot allow this to be the situation. It is a dent on our reputation as a House, and the earlier, Mr. Speaker, we change course, the better. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I thought we should take the earlier matter raised by Honourable Akando, and then we could move at least to the other issues. More importantly, the report of the Committee of Selection is now available, and I'm sure copies have been distributed to members. We need to deliberate on it, adopt it, to set up the committee, the appointment. Then we can look at these issues that you've raised. Now, it means we are going to look at our three. One on COVID-19, one on you spoke about, Suhini spoke about which issue?
Mr. Speaker, I didn't conclude
Yes,
what I was raising because I thought that we should deal with the matter that has been raised by
but that
the ranking
issue
member
was
on it.
what?
Well, it was actually related to the choice of a leader or the various and the position of who a designated leader is, as far as the interpretation, as far as the leader is, as contained standing orders, and the seeming confusion between the political parties, and especially the current one within the New Patriotic Party.
Honorable Katie Hammond.
My big brother, my very good friend, my Excellency, and my Speaker. What has that got to do with you? Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure whether that was insinuation, whether that was what. Did I hear some confusion in the MPP or whatever? Number one, he's not a member, as far as I know. He's not. If he is, he's not paid up. So I don't know about that. So what does it mean, Mr. Speaker, when he talks about some confusion in the MPP? We want some elucidation. Let me clarify. I am a member. I am paid up. But as of now, Mr. Speaker, I don't know about any issue in our party. So what he knows we don't know, he will let us know.
Well, we may pass a law, thou shalt not rumor monger. Yes, so let's leave it at that, but we'll come
talking about that. You know, IK Champion never liked that. He wasn't worried about
he passed a decree.
The rumor, but the mongering he didn't like at all. So be careful about the mongering if you don't do the rumor. You can do the rumor, but don't do the mongering. The law, Mr. Speaker, it will be private members' law, this will be official law, what is it? I don't know. The bill will be what? So this day is the day of private members.
We'll incorporate it in our standards.
This day, we're going to go for another standard orders, are we?
Evidence-based debate, not rumor mongering.
Did you hear that?
Mr. Speaker, I am rightly guided not to engage in, even though it is impossible to resist the rumors. And when, as people's representatives, we hear rumors, it becomes our duty to probe, to find out if there is any, if there's any reason why there are those rumors. Mr. Speaker, and in probing, I realize that indeed a group of members led by the first Deputy Speaker of all people addressed the press on this subject. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, there are credible news reports that also suggest that there will be a meeting tonight with His Excellency the President on this matter, a crisis meeting to deal with it. So, Mr. Speaker, it is no longer just a rumor that can be ignored. It is important for the cohesion of the majority caucus and for the good work of Parliament, because we will need to have a leader on their side to lead government business. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think that it will be very important that we get clarity as to who a designated leader is, as the framers of our new standing orders imagined it to be, so that the various political parties out there are clear in their minds about how leaders will be chosen in this house moving forward. Mr. Speaker, that is all I seek to get guidance from you. And no other person is better suited to give the guidance than yourself, who has championed the part of this landmark standing orders that have been spoken about for many years in the past, but have never really seen the light of day, and who also remains the longest serving in this house. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the various political parties, especially the MPP and the NDC, will benefit richly from the light that will be thrown on this matter. And I implore you to indulge us. Thank you.
Honourable Member, First Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thought that we had serious business. It does appear from the last 5 minutes that there's serious business in the House. And so I want to propose that we bring proceedings to a close. I so move.
Actually, first Deputy Speaker, I drew the attention of the House to the pendency of a serious business, which is the report of the Committee of Selection for the adoption of the House to appoint the members or compose the members of the Appointments Committee. So we'll do that and respond to these concerns, and then we can call it a day. Honorable members, order paper addendum. Order paper addendum. Page 1 of the order paper addendum of Wednesday, 21st February 2024, at the commencement of public business. Item 1, presentation of papers. The following paper to be presented by the chairman of the committee. I happen to be the chairman of the committee, and I will authorize the Federal to present the paper for and on my behalf.
Report of the Committee of Selection on the composition of the membership of the Appointments Committee.
Honorable members, the paper is presented and is for distribution to all members. My information is that this report has already been distributed to members, and being an urgent matter, honorable members, once the report has been distributed, I will now proceed to call on one of the members of the committee to move the motion captured as item 2. Because as chair, I cannot move the motion whilst presiding. And so I'll call on the deputy majority leader, who is a member of the committee, to move the motion item mine as number 2, order paper addendum.
If it's Mr. Speaker, I rise to move this House that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 1041, which require that a motion shall not be debated until at least 2 sitting days have elapsed after notice to move the motion is given, the motion for the adoption of the report of the Committee of Selection on the composition of the membership of the Appointment Committee be moved today. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Any seconder?
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Motion moved and seconded. It's a procedural motion. I put the question. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. As a procedural motion, we will now move to a substantive motion, which is item 3. Substantive motion, item 3. Same deputy majority leader to move the motion. Why? You want to raise a preliminary objection? I'm out of order.
No, Mr. Speaker, I have made an objection which appears to frown on our standing orders. Order 75. Order 2175. Mr. Speaker, I respectfully need your guidance. Order 2175 provides that a member of the Appointments Committee or the leadership and the two others of the relevant subject matter standing or select committees joining the Appointments Committee shall not be a minister or deputy minister or a minister designate, except where the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs is the majority leader. Mr. Speaker, the report before us and what the motion, what we are adopting, Mr. Speaker, I see two names here: the Honorable Henry Korte, the Honorable Alhassan Tampuli Suleiman. The Honorable Henry Korte is Greater Accra Regional Minister and is a Minister for the Interior Designate. The Honorable Alhassan Tampuli Suleimana is the Honorable Deputy Minister for Transport. Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, the majority side, the vote they have brought to us to approve is
we haven't reached there yet.
That's what we're saying.
That's why I was calling on him to move that motion. Then that report will be before us.
So, Mr. Speaker, I thought I should raise it as a preliminary observation so that we don't waste our time because of...
I ruled before on this matter. I recall either in 21 or 2022 giving a ruling that you only raise a preliminary objection after the motion has been moved and before it is seconded. See, that time you can raise preliminary objection. But when it's seconded, it's now before the House for consideration. But you want to prevent it from being considered because there's a preliminary objection. But the report must first be before the House. When it's moved, then it's now an indication that the report is with the House. But to prevent it being considered, then you raise the objection. We haven't reached there yet. So I'll call on the Deputy Majority Leader.
Table 1, the item number 4 and 5. Mr. Speaker, it wouldn't be injurious to delete this item being, since by proceeding to consider the report, the necessary quorum would be in existence for the committee to function. Mr. Speaker, I, however, believe a supplementary application brought at the appropriate time for this to be. Mr. Speaker, in the list, I know my procedure. In the list, my procedure, I can delete, amend, and replace. I don't have the capacity because I need to do that. So, Mr. Speaker, what is important is whether or not in proceeding without these two, the committee will have a quorum to function. My answer is yes. Therefore, it will not be out of place to proceed for this House to consider. Mr. Speaker, okay. Mr. Speaker, I seek your leave to amend item number 4 and 5 on table 1. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, I seek further leave to replace with the following. 1, Honorable Johnson Kwekwedu. And Honorable Dr. Ayu Efiye. Mr. Speaker, I'm taking out Honorable Henry Korte and Honorable Alhassan Tampuli Sulemana out of the Lagos by law. If we
honorable members, please, he's doing this for and on behalf of the committee. You are not members of the committee. You don't know what has gone between the members. Please, go on. Go on, please.
Mr. Speaker, this is your chamber.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this is your chamber.
Yes, so you go on.
And they want to take your chamber away from you. This is your chamber.
Delete and insert.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that I let my colleagues know that this is not a lame application. I'm fortified by the provisions of our rules book.
Yes.
So I'm relying on order 2175 to do this delete and insert. So, Mr. Speaker, I shall accordingly that the report be adopted. I've already. You didn't hear. But number 4 on the list is Henry Cote. It's been deleted in its place.
Honorable member, I want to get the name of the person.
In his place, Honorable Johnson Kweku Edu.
Yes. Number 5.
Then Honorable Alhassan Sulemana is being deleted, and then in its place I am inserting Mr. Speaker, Honorable Samuel Atachia. He is, Mr. Speaker, he is a very experienced. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Atachia is a veteran member of the appointment. So putting him there, the MPP will be well fortified to do the needful.
To be our member based on our numerical strength on the committee. Mr. Speaker, we have no objection to the names recorded in substitution based on the good work done by my colleague, Honorable Okujeto, who reminded the Deputy Majority Leader that he needed to do the instant appointment. I'm not even sure my colleagues on the other side have even accepted yet, but they are in the House. Maybe they may speak. So, Mr. Speaker, you made us aware that it is quite urgent for us to get this committee together so they can start working out the work plan for vetting of those who the President has nominated recently. So, Mr. Speaker, I second the motion and just to recommend to colleagues to, even with this mix-up, bear with us to accept this report so that we can make progress and put this committee together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honorable Ablakwa.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader has duly averted his mind to the 2175. Mr. Speaker, the amendment he has carried out, we really have to be in our minds the challenges that may be ahead of us if we pay regard to Order 2172. And the Honorable Atachia is, the Honorable Atachia, you may want to listen to me because after this discussion, I'm not sure my respected uncle and Honorable Minister for National Security may be able to save you because under Order 2.2, Mr. Speaker, of our new standing orders, it provides that the leadership and 2 other members of the relevant subject matter standing or select committee shall join members of the appointments committee to consider persons nominated by the President for appointment Chief Justice and Judges of the Supreme Court, Ministers of State, Deputy Ministers, the Administrator of the District Assembly Common Fund, the Special Prosecutor, and other persons specified under the Constitution or any other enactment. So Mr. Speaker, under this provision, it is clear that it is envisaged the standing members of this committee, they will be permanent. And ideally, these will not be in leadership of other committees. The Honorable Atache, I don't know if he is willing to cede his chairmanship of the Great Mines and Energy Committee and be a permanent member of the Appointments Committee. He may not have averted his mind to it. He may not have averted his mind to this, but since this has happened on the floor and the Deputy Majority Leader, without broader consultation, and has to just whimsically do it. But these are the implications, and I just hope that moving forward, if the Honorable Atachia doesn't find himself Chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee, he will not blame us for what has happened. But, Mr. Speaker, it is clear our new standing orders, we really have to all master it. If that had been done, some of the leaders we are seeing, on our
honourable members, I have that assignment.
But Mr. Speaker,
and
we wish
delegation,
them well.
they are waiting on me.
Okay, Mr. Speaker.
I wanted to conclude this before moving there.
I follow your cue.
I have to yield to the First Deputy Speaker. A number of things I thought before.
We are well
guided.
Yes,
Honourable K.T. Hammond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's just a very short contribution. I'm sure he's finished with his contribution. We're getting fairly confused. I have spoken to a few of our colleagues. Well, to start, we don't even have a copy of the standing order. Yeah, you're right. And indeed, to the extent that he's drawn our attention to this very provision, a very important provision, I'm not sure my very good friend, my younger brother and counsel, realize what is it that we are talking. No, you wouldn't have. Speaker, we don't have copies. We haven't read this, and some of us are not even sure why there has been the need to really change the standing orders, which standing orders have been standing for only 24 years, and we decided to do away, Mr. Speaker, with the old one. I don't know. Yes, let me continue. Mr. Speaker, I think in the process of rushing through these things, we're committing gender atrocities. Well, the House is committing gender atrocities. Talking about the age of affirmative action, we're talking about this. And horror of horrors, I'm looking at this document, there is not a single person in the name of the fair sex. You are here. Deputy Speaker, I don't know him as a woman. Alexander sitting by my side here, I know him is a man. Honorable Frank Adodom Gray, he used to sit here, very solid man. And then Henry is gone. Whoever has been put there, I heard the name, a man. Aburi, my junior brother, replaced by my younger brother, counsel, a man, solid man. And then our human beings is quite receptive to advice. Somehow it may be that the speaker glows over this fundamental concept. And so the other members should have drawn his attention to it. Now everybody with the speaker is shouting because they said this is speaker's committee, speaker's committee. So if there's an issue, don't we bring attention to the speaker?
Honorable members, sometimes you need to be more focused on issues on the floor than we are doing. You recall when the committee, the Standing Orders Committee, presented the report on the review of the Standing Orders. This was debated on the floor. One of the issues that the technical committee prevailed upon by me was provisions on this appointment committee. It was during the debate here that members called for a review of the earlier proposals that were made by the Standing Orders Committee. And so before we brought it for the resolution, we captured the concerns of members. And so we realized that the committee members are mostly ex officio, people holding offices. It's only the additions that are not, and there are three, two from the majority and one from the minority. The rest are ex officio, people holding offices. This is what was decided by the House and captured by the committee. I really disagreed, and some of you came to prevail upon me to accept the of the House, and so I agreed with the House. So this is what we have now. What we need to then do is that the additions, leadership will have in the composition of the committees, take that into consideration. And also, what Katie Hammond was submitting is that the 2 and 1, the leadership should have considered the gender matter and included our from the fairer side. That has not been done. It's not too late in the day, but as I said, the way things are going, I can't allow this. It's a very important international delegation. They've been waiting for some time now. But we need this committee to be. Yes, Honorable Muntaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be very snappy. Mr. Speaker, I want to add that this is a very important innovation and we need to support it. And we have to thank the leadership for the swiftness with which they were trying to put these things in place. Mr. Speaker, I want to beg you to correct a very small erroneous impression by my colleague Honorable Ablaka, because the public are listening. So each time we make a statement that is not accurate, when the implementation starts, then it begins to get a problem. Look at the 2175 that you spoke about. It did not say that if somebody is a permanent member and he cannot change, the person can still be a ranking, he can still be a chair, and still be. But when the time for his committee comes, when those leadership are coming, he will be counted double, like you are permanent, and therefore they will only take consideration. Now, Speaker, the second one that is very, very important. Mr. Speaker, you know that this standing orders is new. All of us are struggling to pick fingers on the very provisions. But in our previous standing orders, it's very clear. You cannot set up any committee of this House without taking into account the differences of the differences and the regional balance and all that of the House, different opinions in the House. It is the reason, after loading it with leadership, I remember I was part of working with this committee, that we said that some others should join the permanent. It is to give leadership the opportunity to make sure that in case the composition of the leadership on both sides doesn't give you that balance, take the opportunity in those additions, you add the balance. And Mr. Speaker, that opportunity, because if you look at the composition that we have now, yes, the leadership is stated in the standing orders, nothing can be done about it. And I continue to support that. I believe that is the right thing. But the additional members that are coming must necessarily be women. Mr. Speaker, they must necessarily be at least a woman from each side. You can have at least 2 permanent women. I want to add this committee. Yes, this is very urgent. We need to do this quickly so that the standing order, the appointment committee can get working. But Mr. Speaker, let's no skip this. This is very, very important. They should simply nominate a woman from each side to replace some of those who are not stated in the what do you call it, standing orders, to take care of that we have, because currently there are 40 of them, 40 women in this chamber. It will be too difficult for us to present a permanent committee of about 9, and we say that we cannot find 2 women to serve there. And I want to plead that the leadership should quickly, just as they try to do the majority, quickly get 1 woman each from each side to make the committee look more beautiful. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Let me listen to Honorable Aguchi.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I side with my senior colleague, Honorable Muntaka, and thank you very much for expressing it in this manner. It's a very grave mistake that was going to be made in this House, that 40 women are not worthy of representation on an appointments committee. Mr. Speaker, I was a member of the appointments committee, just this latest appointments committee. The minority side selected 3 women representing the North, the Middle, and the South, and the Southern Belt. And the majority side had 1 woman. 1 or 2. But at least there was representation. And we were also informed at the time that another reason why they took backbenchers was for succession. Because you don't just go on an appointment committee and start asking questions. You learn, and it's an art. So, Mr. Speaker, with all respect to the members of the committee, the list, I think that women deserve much better representation, and also the backbenchers are a certain size and number in this House, both majority and minority combining, that they also maybe deserve representation. Whether the gender and backbenchers will now men and respecting what Honorable Mutaka has said about the regional distribution, I also appreciate that in addition. But please, let us not make mistakes. I'm beginning to feel like, honestly feel like, for the first time in my professional life, and in this House, that I'm an afterthought. And I'm sure the other 40 women have also been feeling the same in this. And looking forward, when the representation is being done for the leadership of the committees, please, do not let us come back to this House to come and about leadership. Every woman here is capable. And sometimes I don't like it when you have to separate a man and a woman. Leadership is capable. But there are certain omissions that, unfortunately, cannot be made. And these mistakes, please, should never be made again in this House. It is offensive for some to see that we have to literally beg that a woman should be placed on a committee like this. Aside from the fact that there will be other ex officio and other members, maybe according to specifics and subject matters. But please, the core committees should contain women representation and backbenchers. Thank you very much.
Yes, minority leader.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to also speak to this motion. Mr. Speaker, clearly the signal is loud, and all of us have noticed the need for us to make some changes. Mr. Speaker, a lot of thinking went into the selection. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately for us as minority, we had an opportunity to choose only 1 member. And in doing that, we took into consideration the need for us to have a very experienced person with some legal background. Hence the decision to choose Honorable Ayariga, who has served on the appointment committee for years and also a very strong constitutional lawyer. And that was the reason why we decided to go for Honorable Ayariga, considering the fact that the expertise of the minority leader, the deputy minority leader, the chief whip, and then the chief whip, the one that has already been designated by the standing order, does not include law. And there was the need for us to have a strong constitutional lawyer to support the minority side on the committee. Mr. Speaker, I think the matter before us is clear. We note, and I will make some proposal. Mr. Speaker, we have conferred among ourselves, and we have come to an understanding that we can change the name of Honorable Mama Ayariga and then substitute it with the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu Ajare, who is also a lawyer and a lady, though first time, but experienced in the matters of the appointment committee, to replace the Honorable Mama Ayariga so that we can have someone with that background to support the committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, majority side.
Speaker, I rely on the sentiment of the House and concede that indeed this is an error. And without more, propose that we replace Honorable Johnson Kwekuedu with Honorable Gifty Chum Ampofu. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members, this is what this exercise is about. It's a report of the committee, and during the course of debate, proposals can be made and they will be accepted. So really, it was a very serious omission to leave out our gender counterparts. And I think that this has been admitted by everybody. It's because of the speed with which this assignment was given to the committee, and the committee, in considering the limitations, as we said, only membership, and it's only 3 that you have the discretion to take a decision. And so that really is what bled the vision of the committee chaired by, I was there in the deliberation. And in spite of my passion and commitment to gender parity, it really also eluded me, and I apologize sincerely to the House for that. So we will take two of the new proposals, the 2 ladies to be members of the standing committee, the appointments committee. But it's important for me to draw the attention of the House to the fact the issue of making sure that committees reflect the different shades of opinion is captured standing orders as Order 209. 209. And I will use this opportunity to urge on members to attend the orientation workshop, the one that took place last weekend at the Serene Hotel at Ho. Was very, very, very interesting and very fruitful. Members participated actively. The numbers were very good. This weekend we're going to Rock City, and I expect that the rest will be there in their numbers. I will definitely be there myself, so that we go through the rationale, the reasoning behind these proposals, and what we mean to achieve by the new standard orders. But I'll take this opportunity to thank you, and with this, I propose to put the question. Those in favor of the report as amended by the House, say aye. Those against, say no. As the ayes have it, the motion is accordingly adopted. We now have as the Appointments Committee the following members. The First Deputy Speaker as Chairman. The Vice President is the Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Markin, Deputy Majority Leader. Sorry, you want to do something?
Yes, please, Mr. Speaker, with respect, I just identified a little error. In the new standing orders, there is no provision deputy ranking. So, item number 6, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua is designated as deputy ranking. There is no such position. So, he's a member. It should be deleted. There is nothing like that. So, there is no deputy ranking, so we cannot write one if we are going by the
yes, please.
Speaker, I think this has been discussed. It's been by convention that whenever ranking, we have somebody designated as deputy ranking. When you have chair, we have somebody as vice chairman. So even in the old standing order, you will notice that it's similar. So I don't think we should.
We should concede where collectively we've erred. I have identified a lot of loopholes in the signing orders. That is why we are doing workshops. So let us concede. Because when we enact rules of procedure in very express terms, the express mention of a provision is to the exclusion of that has not been expressed. It's simplicity. So let us rather consider this is an oversight. Yes, it cannot be. If you look at the old standing orders, wherever there is ranking, we have deputy. Yeah, unfortunately, in this new one, there is no provision at all for deputy.
This session is not for the debate of standing orders. We are still in the process, and at the earlier orientation, we took note of these editorial errors. But he's just drawing our attention to the fact that, as at now, that is not captured. So we'll put them and then move on. When we capture it, then it will take effect as we move along. So please, the membership includes Honorable Frank Anodompre, Honorable Samuel Atta Achian. The lady's name is Gifty Chum Ampofo. Then we have the ranking member as Honorable Kesia Otuba Forson, member Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua, member Honorable Kwame Govins Abda, and the last member is Honorable Elizabeth Ajari Fosu. Am I right? Ajari Fosu. Oh, Fosu Ajari. Okay. So that's 9 permanent members. The others will come with the composition of the other committees, select and other committees. Honorable members, with this, I just would want to make a comment before I leave. The issues that were raised earlier on, I find it to understand why committees are not reporting to the House. But as I went through the 2000 standing orders, I did not find a key to try and whip or crack the whip to get members I was only guided by one order who says you have to consult the leadership of the caucuses, and if they are minded to do a recomposition of the committee. And that definitely was a difficult one for the leadership. And that's why I kept on and said almost weekly that committee to the House. Well, that's part of it. These standing orders have given a rather detailed procedure and even duties and functions of the chairs, the clerk, and all those things, and timelines. The timeline we had was only a constitutional provision dealing with public bills coming from the government, where we're given a time limit of 3 months. I think that is what inspired these new orders. So there's now a time limit of 3 months for all committees to comply. Within 3 months, you have to report to the House. That one is stated now in the new standing orders. But as to whether the Speaker can crack any whip, order there. And it's because of that frustration that at the beginning of the review of the standing orders, I was insisting that it should come under Article 11.7 as an instrument that is enforceable. But wise counsel prevailed that these rules should be flexible, and that is the practice all over the world. You should not make it so difficult, and the rules of courts doesn't come to Parliament to legislate. They are so flexible that the court itself, from time to time, through practice, could revise, amend the rules. So we had to adopt this, and we came by resolution, not going through the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. So that is where we are. And democracy is only anchored through discipline. It's discipline. If we are prepared to so, all these rules, you will see you reap the benefits. And you see that we really made progress in these new rules. And at the last orientation, this was acknowledged, and members quite appreciated the direction we are going. So I'm surprised that there are some interpretations that have been placed on them. But truly, it's because of the differences between these rules and the former rules. I have heard, I have listened, and I know that the parties are having problems with this new definition of the leaders. That is only where this confusion is coming from. The old order referred to parties, but this new one is not referring to a party, but caucuses. The old order defined the majority leader to mean a member of parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the House as their recognized leader in the House. Now, this new order says leader means a member of parliament designated by the majority caucus, the leader in the House. Designate means appoint. Now, the same standing orders talks about the majority caucus. And it says majority caucus means the members of the party or parties that have the largest number of seats in the House. How do you see the difference? It's still talking about the same thing. But the caucus is the party wing. That is the wing of the party in Parliament. And you can't be talking about you designating or appointing your leaders without the party leading the process. I don't understand that. Because they say here, majority caucus means members of the party or parties that have the largest number of seats in the House. And so if as a new House, you scarcely even know each other, and then you are asked to go and appoint your leader without the party, how are you going to do it? Party that has given you the platform to come to this House, you come on the ticket party, and to appoint your leader, the party must lead that process. I don't know how you can do it without the party. If we have to do that, please, you know, at this stage of our parties, this will be controlled by some clear interests. But there are constitutional provisions, including legislative provisions, that bind parties and compel parties to be national in character. And so the face of the party, which is usually the leadership of the caucus, must have national character. If you leave it to the caucus alone, you are likely to face challenges. So I am not really in support of interpretations talking about like it's the members of the caucus that should designate. It's not all about elect. The members of the caucus should appoint the leader or leaders of their caucus. And so it's a matter that I will come out with a written reason for this House. But in the meantime, this is the position of the Speaker. And I do so under the same standing orders. Where there's a doubt, it's the Speaker's opinion that prevails. Anybody that disagrees with that, you have your front to proceed to the proper venue to contest my opinion. And that is Standing Order 5. It says, subject to the provisions of the Constitution and any other enactment, where there is doubt, these orders shall be interpreted by Mr. Speaker. As I said, subject to the provisions of the Constitution and any other enactment. So if you disagree with me, you proceed to court and then get that changed. But as at now, this is binding on all of you and the parties. So there should not be any confusion. There should not be any confusion at all. The party is still in control, and the party will lead the process to designate or appoint the leaders of the caucuses in the House. With this, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thought it was just a matter that was said in jest, but you appear to have taken a position offering a beautiful interpretation of your. Very welcome, very beautiful. Mr. Speaker, it would appear to me that in interpreting the parliamentary portion, we haven't taken a look at the various wings of the other parties. If you have the NPP, for example, we have what we call the women's wing, the youth. When it comes to selecting leaders of the youth wing, the party says, the youth, you go and decide. And they select their leaders. When it comes to the women's wing, they say, women, you go and decide. And they select their leaders. So I am not aware of any parliament where the outside parliament select leaders for the parliament. I think in interpreting the standing orders and the Constitution, this group, the parliamentary group, must be recognized as of the party which can and must take
decisions regarding its leadership. It doesn't mean that the party has no role. The wing, the parliamentary wing, is a wing of the party. And in deciding who will lead them, it should be left to the party, the parliamentary wing of the party, in consultation with whoever, to decide who their leaders must be. We should not continue to have a situation where a body outside parliament, often without consultation, often without any indication whatsoever, just announce that leadership. I'm aware of the problems it's causing wings, but if we want to continue, I think that these standing orders must be interpreted in that respect. And without challenging your opinion, Mr. Speaker, I'm offering this as an alternative interpretation.
It's not. You are using the same words. You are only placing emphasis on a different process than mine. But there is no difference. I place emphasis on the role of the party. And I thought that I used the word a party should lead. You are suggesting that it's rather the members of the caucus that should lead. That's what you are proposing. But as at now, what you stated in the House of Commons, when you're talking about the leadership, it's not just the members of the House of Commons, but the party as a whole. They lead to elect the leaders. The election is done leader, and I've known the process. We'll go through it, and the party will propose, and they meet the caucus, and usually propose to the caucus that this is what we think should be your leaders. But when you come to the floor, they are not to make those announcements. That is at the beginning of every parliament. It's the members who are here that will serve as leaders and say, these are the people that will lead us in the caucus. But what I picked from both parties, actually these are not rumors, I picked from both parties, both the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, is that this change, by leaving out the parties and party in the definition of only the leader. We haven't talked about leader, we talked about only the leader, has confused the parties. And both parties have discussed this already. And I know the parties are still having it as business to be discussed. And I know the New Patriotic Party will continue that discussion today. And as Speaker, this is my position. And I said that people can disagree with me, but the proper thing to do is to do what? Proceed to the other authority that is higher than me when it comes to the interpretation and enforcement of the law, which is the judiciary. With this, honorable members, I plead I have to rush to the other meeting. Honorable members, I'm proceeding to adjourn the House, but because of gender. Yes, Deputy Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank you, always championing gender issue. And I would like to thank Honorable Muntaka for bringing in the women to join the committee. Mr. Speaker, always have your gender lenses and make sure gender in this house. Last weekend, you supported the gender committee to go and work on an affirmative action bill. And I know with you in the seat with your gender lenses, gender issue will continue to be championed in this house. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Muntaka, Honorable Muntaka, for the opportunity to slot in the women. We are great as women.
Thank you so much. Keep on shining my gender lenses for me. Yes, Minority Leader.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Earlier on, the ranking member for the Committee on Health raised an issue relating to the referral on COVID audit. Mr. Speaker, we expect that you can guide us as to the way forward. Mr. Speaker, this is particularly important because, Mr. Speaker, it's a matter of a major public concern. The chairman of the Joint Committee, the Honorable Ayo Efri, has not called a meeting for the committee on the matter. Mr. Speaker, obviously the ranker cannot call the meeting. So it's only the chairman who can call the meeting. Mr. Speaker, clearly we are sensing some form of sabotage. In the sense that, Mr. Speaker, there was a subcommittee that the committee formed. The subcommittee led by Honorable Podo and myself developed a guideline, submitted it to the Joint Committee, and the Joint Committee accepted it. The Speaker, it is the committee chair to call the meeting, and as we speak, this matter has been delayed almost 8 months. The Speaker, we can't continue like that. We can't. Because, the Speaker, the motion was debated here, accepted here, the committee was formed here, and we were given some timelines for us to go and work. The Speaker, in the same vein, the other committee relating to the National Cathedral, for example, the Speaker, as we speak, we are still waiting for the numbers from the majority side. So, Right Honourable Speaker, something must be done with this house. Because the way it's going, if care is not taken, this Parliament's life is left to about 9 months or 10 months to go. Because we can't continue like this. And so, Right Honourable Speaker, I urge you to enter the House and to give us a direction going forward on this matter. Thank you.
I've done that many times. What I haven't done is refer them to the Privileges Committee. That is what I haven't done. But I realize that that referral may not have legs to stand on. And that is what I haven't done that. Because when you look through the statutes and the rules, including our constitution, you can't find any express direction in this matter. That is the challenge in the hands of the Speaker. So I can keep on only exhausting you that please take up this matter, work on it, because it's affecting you and affecting the House. That is how I can urge you on. But I cannot crack any whip in this matter. But at the end of the day, there is a rule that permits me to give rulings. Outstanding business is still captured even in these new standing orders, which I intend to do. But before I do that, I will come out with some ruling or guidance on the outstanding businesses. The referrals are 700 and the bills are 8. Those are before committees. And that's why we identified that we have to finish what we consider today. We have to do the affirmative action bill. We have the rent bill. We have the budget. Yesterday, we did a good job by working on the Environmental Protection Authority bill. And so we'll continue along that. There's nothing more I can do as Speaker in this matter. With honorable members, I proceed to adjourn the House. And the House is adjourned tomorrow at 10 in the forenoon.